So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to our very special guest speaker, Ruth Barefoot. We're so happy to have her with us. This is such a wonderful topic, change. We're certainly in a period of an unprecedented time of, massive society-wide change. So we're really looking forward to her insights. I'm going to ask we all keep our video off and audio off. Use the chat to type in any questions. Ruth is going to be answering questions at the very end, but you can type into chat and we'll make sure those get answered. So here we go. I'm going to hand it over to Ruth in just one moment here.
All right, everyone, and hi to all of my students and my soon students. I hope you come into my classes and stuff and have some fun. But change, what a great topic, and what a vital topic for the times that we are in right now. There's so much going on. The different quotes that you were dealing with in just a moment ago, you can see what inspires you, what you connect with. Remember that year after year, that the choices there, you'll change because you're always going to be rolling forward, evolving due to what you're experiencing and how your perceptions change and how you deal with challenge. Right? So I think it's just super fun and interesting right now to be in the room. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. And I hope that we can have time at the end of this very short presentation about some of the core pieces of change leadership, being a change agent. At the end, we'll have a lot of questions. You can button down any specific questions you have by asking them. All right, so let's go forward here. So there's just a lot of tools, and what I have found being the tried and true useful tools is to have a clear idea of what success looks like, and to be very clear about what that looks like. For me, I want everyone that comes into a public library to just be excited, to be engaged, to find it fun and rewarding and colorful and easy to navigate, right? So that's what success means to me for a facility, for an environment. Now with pandemic, right? We'd have to kind of reorganize what that looks like in an online environment, but why can't it translate fun, inviting, colorful, easy to navigate, right? So anyway, understand how success can be articulated. Can you actually see it? Can you understand it? Because if you can, then you can talk about that and others can then grasp it and also possibly follow, right? And help facilitate the movement forward. So having a clear picture of success is one of the biggest tools you can have as a change agent, as a change leader, and a manager of change, right? Oftentimes, one of the biggest things that you can be sunk by is taking on the world, taking on this huge project. And it's so large that you're going to fail or possibly never get it done because you're taking it, you've got so much. So you want to articulate what success looks like in a little bit smaller bites. So I want everybody to be happy. Wow, that's huge, right? Taking it in smaller bites, you want them to enjoy in this situation might be a smaller piece of that pie, right? So taking the overall project, understanding what we want to change, how we want to facilitate movement moving forward, is really important, that you kind of cut it down to bite-sized pieces. For instance, dealing with the pandemic, having services, I mean, to take that in its entirety probably was just too much to wrap your head around. So talking to individuals within the organization, what does service look like next month to you? How do you keep the services rolling? Might be an easier way for people to wrap their heads around it, right? So you can cut it down to bite-sized pieces. Now, another really good technique in regards to working into smaller bites is to pilot small, get the success in a small situation, like, pilot an idea for a week or, 2 weeks or a month, and get the success and tweak if you need to tweak. And then you can implement for a larger period of time. And that will help you build buy-in, build the tweaking right into the process. That's really an important piece, rather than, oftentimes we think this is a great idea, let's just do it. And then you put it into stone, you put it into cement, and then you're ending up tweaking it after it's in cement. So you look wishy-washy. You don't look well organized. It doesn't look well managed, right? And it's because that tweaking piece wasn't done well. You want to kind of tweak before it gets into the cement, if that all makes sense. And then two, and this is probably my personal biggest flaw, is that I always think it can be done quickly. And having a better understanding of time, process, implementation period, really needs to be understood. So having a really good understanding of how to implement, how to articulate the steps regarding that process of change is really going to help not just you for expectation, but for you to help communicate the steps, the processes, not only to the people supporting you at the top, but those that are on the team or those waiting for you to fail that are not involved in the process at all. You know who those folks are, right? They're just, they're not engaged at all. They are sitting on the sidelines. They are the peanut gallery and would love to see you fail. So having a clear understanding of timeline, and also advertise what that timeline is really a good piece to go with. You want to advertise timeline. You want to really almost see the success and have it very evident that the success is well understood before you're even through that last part. All right, so there's more to this. Let's kind of go on. Dealing with pandemic, building an ecosystem where everybody can come to the table is one of the wonderful pieces that you can do as a change leader, as a change manager. You are building an environment where people can contribute ideas, they can collaborate, they feel a bit of ownership, you can build buy-in if you have this sort of cohesive, I love the word ecosystem here, but it's like a culture. You are building a culture of change leaders, whether they will be a change leader or not, they can participate for themselves for their particular role or skill in the larger organization, and that can sometimes be enough. So value that versus the one that's in charge of a whole department or even a whole library system. So really, that is really a very important and valuable piece, is to understand how ecosystem is always being built. Reliability as a change manager as a change leader, reliability, not predictability, but follow through is so important, right? Having, using your words that are really, really important. Because when you have those words being repeated by those, in the organization is really an important way to build the ecosystem, to build buy-in, to build the early adopter team. People are more likely to give you feedback if they're in the peanut gallery. So vocabulary is really important too. Communicating often in different ways, not just, a lot of folks will just use an email and pop it out. You want to talk at the staff meetings. You want to talk, in the one-on-one meetings. You want to talk in the team meetings. You want to talk in email. You want to talk. Go online and have a couple of pieces there online for the intranet, for the staff intranet. Also, you might want to have a whole element there for the public too, if it's one of those projects that must be, that you give a status regarding what's happening to the public. So you want to just communicate, over communicate. And when you are very reliable in your communication, and if you're very regular in the way you're communicating, those in the peanut gallery will not have a lot of angst, so that only helps you. How to build responsibility for everyone. They want a piece of the pie. You want to articulate what this change might mean to them. And so you talk about that and how they can be prepared for it. And so you articulate what that is and share that with them. And sometimes you almost, for the passive aggressive, but also for the very supportive folks and everybody in between, you might want to summarize that experience, that chat that you just had with them in an email that summarizes what you chatted with, because then they get their vocabulary, their talking points, their goal, they understand what success looks like, the goal, and then the steps, and then a rough timeline in there. So some people are very print heavy. Some of them, they need to hear it verbally. Some of them need to see it. Some need to hear and see. Some need to pound back to you in an email. Be aware of how people learn and how they build buy-in. Isn't that an interesting piece? I never thought I'd see that, but over the years, I found that people participate and embrace change in different ways. So allow them to embrace the change in different ways. And then celebrate the heck out of those celebrations, even little milestones. It's like, oh my gosh, and we were so excited that we did this, and I've worked in an organization where they didn't bother to celebrate. They only celebrated at the top. That was wrong. That was so wrong, because it wasn't valued at the other end. And so they were so not players when the next change would come about. What did they do? They did not feed that ecosystem. They didn't build the culture. You've got to feed that grassroots participation. So do you see how it kind of all is like it's a living organism? It's really a fun thing when you see it working. All right, let's move on. So, of course, happy Halloween, everybody. This is me as, well, you can tell I'm a Harry Potter fan. But in change, you can't do it all, right? And if you're working in a small library, You might be working with another small library. So team up, collaborate. You can't do it all. It's wonderful not to have to do it all. So beg, borrow, and steal, and even have guest speakers and do this and that. I found that it really helped me with a change issue when I had very resistant folks to bring in a panel of experts. And I didn't even say experts. I said some folks have tried certain things and they have some tips that they wanted to share. And so we had this panel discussion, and it was almost all Q&A for the resistors, from the people that answered a million questions within an hour. There was so much forward momentum that was garnered because of that panel. It was really interesting. So anyway, use whatever tools you can find that can help advance. All right, advance conversations. So you want to partner with others. Sometimes you're even partnering with other departments in a city or a county. Sometimes you're partnering with an organization that is, like, say, for the homeless. Sometimes it's so brilliant not to have to do it all, but you bring in experts and then you build plans of action and you take leadership. Once people can find ways to get through their own angst, their own worries with a plan, they can become change leaders for that one issue. It depends on, right? So you're just enabling that ecosystem. And so, brilliant, right? Just keep it going. It's helping to bring everybody to the table. I have found the most wonderful ideas from pages, from clerks, from janitors, from non-library workers. It's amazing how you can bring everybody to the table. And just for a great example, how everybody reads, and they have the janitor in a high school in the schools read and talk about their reading. I mean, how brilliant is that? It's change it up. Mix it up. It's so fun. I've had the mayor come in and chat in regards to customer service, and for them for my front lines folks in a library to understand customer service through another person's eyes, another person that you didn't think could be so humbled by customer service challenges. Oh my gosh, that was such a good, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, little bit of sharing that the mayor had. So look for those opportunities to leverage understanding and leadership and buy-in and accountability, how to build accountability. Some folks did not really realize how they were coming across on the phone. And now, during this pandemic, phone and email behavior is so important, right? So you definitely want to almost brush up on that and make sure that that's a portion of every communication, that people understand how powerful their communication is, right? So, do a little bit of that. And another thing, always follow through, even if it's a failure. Okay, you guys, on this project, we learned this, we learned that, we learned that we cannot go forward in this manner. We've got to shift. We are going to scrap this portion and we're moving forward with just this. I mean, shoot, that's a lot of genuine, authentic behavior. And why not? That is owning. That's owning up to the challenges. And sometimes the challenges don't pan out. The choices don't pan out. And I just think the more that leaders own up to failure, it helps everybody else come to the table. Isn't it fascinating to find out that leaders can be vulnerable? They don't have all the answers. And, they might have moved too fast. They might not have had XYZ in place, right? So whatever the issue is, if they are vulnerable and show that they have failed, and they can even use the word fail. It's like, we took a risk, play into it, use humor and have fun. And you can even just, call it something. And then forever after, you can just say, well, and here's another blah, blah. And they get to where they're not afraid of failure. And then they'll do a lot more risk taking and a lot more out of the box thinking. I'm afraid I had to use that. It's so cliche anymore, but have them take risks where they didn't think they needed to before. But in this time of pandemic, it's more and more critical that we're looking at how to save money, how to take a look at budgets, how to give value, even though people can't come into a public library in the same way, or into an academic library in the same way as they have been. People want access. Their dollars are paying for access. How do you give value in those other ways, right? So, and have fun and market the successes in the same way that you've been communicating. Make sure you communicate the successes through those same avenues, right? And have fun doing that. I've had some folks that are very good at animation, and you can have them do a little bit of a video animation that everybody gets, and it plays through, and it just makes for a fun ecosystem. Again, you're building the ecosystem where fun, successes, risk-taking, everybody, being accountable. See how all of it has to play together. So that's the way to have fun. All right. So in this time of pandemic, it's good to just stand still for a moment. Be courageous and be kind and take a moment. Right at the top of the hour, I would take 10 minutes for the staff when I was back in Anacortes, Washington. I would just say, this is a break. We're going to be just chatting, talking about, whatever's on your plate. How are you de-stressing, de-stressing? What are you doing? Oh, you're making homemade tea. That's brilliant. Can you share that recipe? What's your favorite? Just decompressing some of that stress from the day, and to do it on a regular basis and in a regular way will help everybody bring their best game, their best effort to the work at hand. So be kind. And, your patrons, your customers out there, they love you. So be kind, and spend some time on the phone, or spend some time in whatever way that you are connecting with them. In many ways, we're all being sent to our room because of pandemic, and we're being, put under masks and stuff. So we're feeling more and more isolated, more and more, put into a box, and it can be very stressful. So we're going into the winter months, and we need to really be cognizant of how that works, how people are going to be impacted. So timeline, how everybody is, communicating, how everybody has a piece of the action, and their action, their portion is valued, equally valued. You need to kind of work that all in. You as a change leader needs to say, and this is what we'll do. Oh, great idea. And this is what we'll do, right? So those are all big. I just think it's really neat. Okay, so more support is needed for new and changing environments. More and more people are going to be working from home or working only from their distanced, workspace, and that can be very stressful. So think about physicality as another challenge. to what's on our plate. So, and that's kind of the end of my presentation. I'm waiting for all of your questions. So while you think of your questions, I'm also teaching change management for a new reality, adapting to the new normal, which is about change management for ALA. And you can go to this link and sign up for this course. It's 12 weeks, and I put a little bit about what you'll be learning in that 12-week course. It goes from November through February, but like weeks off in between. 1 week off for Christmas, 1 week off for Thanksgiving, and it's there's not a lot of homework. It's just a lot of discussion, and it's a lot of reading in that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed some of these little nuggets that might be useful, and I look forward to your questions.
So it's Kelli here, Ruth. I know that you brought up these, and I know you just recently retired, but could you give examples of, I know you were still at the Anacortes Public Library, so what are examples of how, what happened, I mean, at the beginning, and this kind of just hit us so hard. And I know in Anacortes, there was that choir situation of the COVID breakout. People won't know that, but there was a choir, and they took precautions. They distanced, they used hand sanitizers and everything, but many of the people got sick, and I think 2 died. So it was a very traumatic community experience. And I'm just wondering, you were there on the ground, and what was going on?
Well, even before that, on the Friday before that Saturday where the choir got together, the Friday, first ever, we had all the libraries in Skagit County get together for a staff training day. And they asked, should we go forward with this? And I said, absolutely, yes. And we will say every hour we're washing our hands. If you're in a class where you're super concerned, you don't need to come, or you can wear a mask, etc. So we went overboard on saying, please be careful and everything. So no one from that group had COVID or didn't get COVID after that. But that next day, 2 people from my town of Fidalgo Island, Anacortes, went to the choir practice, and there were 60 people there, I think, about 60. And it was amazing because you have to be exposed for about 15 minutes for COVID to really catch, according to some of the experts. So being in a choir where they're singing their hearts out for a 2-hour practice session, almost everybody had COVID, and one person, the original person, died of COVID. So it was and she didn't even know that she had COVID. Nobody suspected anything. But this was back before we really even understood how fast the pandemic would really just scourge through our lives and catch all these public libraries. We did not know how to react. And it took Anacortes Public Library until the 24th, 23rd to really have, we were on watch, and our city would not shut down regular library services until the Tuesday on the 23rd or 24th of March. So it was amazing. But I had some staff actually go home in tears saying, I feel like I'm in danger. I need to go home. And we had 5 that were real diehards saying, I am fine. I will do all precautions and stuff. So there's folks that are going to be all over the map in regards to how they deal with that. And but as a change leader, as a manager, you need to not only follow the rules set by the governing agency. So the mayor basically was following the local hospital levels of precaution, which they were following the levels of precaution at the county. And then they were, of course, following the state level. So it's boom, boom. There's so many other agencies that are kind of calling the shots. All you have to do as a library manager or a library leader is to just know what is driving it, and to make sure that you're communicating that, right? And make sure that you are illustrating what that looks like on the website, not just on the city website, but on the library website. It needs to be in lots of places, because some people just go to the library because the library knows everything, right? I'm preaching to the choir because many of you are like that, right? Because I'm like that. I will go to the library because it's a trusted institution. They usually have the right information, right? So make sure you have it in, on your website. And then make sure that all of your staff are using the same talking points. I know in the Anacortes Public Library, we had curbside service, and they had little signs in parking spot number 1, 2, and 3, and they had the instructions right there on a stanchion. So when you pulled into parking lot spot number 1, you called, and they would ask, which spot are you in, number 1. They would come out with your holds. They would come out with whatever you were asking for. And so they organized in that way. And I thought it was really, really smart. There's just really a lot of work being done. There's a lot of people that are just in parking lots using the Wi-Fi. We need to understand that will be more so even now as we go into the winter months, and people need that kind of service. Does that help, Kelli?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't imagine the circumstances that you were in. We do have questions. So let's see. As a leader, when someone brings you an idea that you don't think is viable, how do you navigate that?
That's an interesting idea. Tell me more, right? And what you want to do is not be judgmental. That will shut off that relationship. What you want to do is you want to create a relationship where they are a thinker for you, right? They are out there. Some of them, they just need to be trained on how to look at problems and how to troubleshoot. Sometimes they come to you half-baked. The ideas are half-baked, right? Like this situation where it's not going to work at all, and you already know it. But the more you're training them on how to think, that's the way to begin that training and that relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that was Karen.
Okay.
So Elizabeth, I think we have more questions. You want to look at those and see?
Yeah, absolutely. That was I liked that answer. So thank you for that good advice on navigating those difficult conversations. The next question is from Kathleen. How do you manage to keep buy-in strong when outside forces like the pandemic have derailed the timeline?
Very good question, right? In a perfect world, I've had these situations, right? And I have had to say, in a perfect world, this is what we've run with, but we're not always in control. And we have to play with these other guys, and we have to play with these other guys. So you are modeling how to be big person, how to be mature, how to be a leader, and you're not accepting defeat. You are not putting the blame game and judgment, or dang it, they're just awful by making us XYZ, or they don't know any better, blah, blah, blah. And what we see, how you're kind of polluting that whole question. You want to be a leader. How does a leader wrap those outside forces into the overall movement forward? So I think that's what I would do is, in a perfect world, I would do this. And we already know how we would do it, right, you guys? So you're building that. We're all in this together. We're not going to lose any. There's no casualties in this situation. But we are going to be adjusting our timeline, and I would be transparent as much as possible. Sometimes you have folks that are in power that say, do not, throw me under the bus, and you don't want to. That's not a good change leaders actions. You don't want to throw anybody under the bus. You want to be very sensible in that, not everybody has all of the answers. We might have other things that are affecting the timeline that nobody knows except the person that's saying, halt, do this only right now, kind of thing. So you can say, we have been given the green light to do this. I am so excited because I know this is an excellent project. You see how change leaders have got to be not just a cheerleader, but they have to be realistic, and they can't be wearing rose-colored glasses. They have to be genuine. So I hope that helps. Next question.
Yeah, I think that was a solid answer. This next one comes from Jada. Ms. Barefoot, thank you so much for the presentation. As a leader, how do you deal with colleagues in your teams that have aggressive or uncooperative dispositions or negative thoughts?
Mm-hmm. I understand your point of view. So let me just, so this is the way you see that, and then sort of regurgitate it back to them, but in not in their words, but in your words, and keep the judgment out of it. Let's say that they have a very poor idea and they want to shut you down, right? They want to control, or they want to, they're pretty toxic and they want to just be a dump truck. They want to stop, or slow you down and that kind of stuff. In that cases, those are ideas that we've considered. They're, you can come across as saying something like that, or, but we need to move forward on this. And this idea, and repeat the better ideas, do we have any other ideas that will have us moving forward, that will help us move forward? So that's change leadership, is how you have to keep your eye on the goal. The ultimate goal is XYZ, let's say, and you don't want to slow, you don't want to have the information session that you're doing right now. Let's say it's an information session where you're taking in information and you're getting feedback. And so you've got some fairly toxic feedback coming out, but you've got other people in the room that are getting toxic, that are choking on this. And yeah, let's say too that you have most everybody fairly afraid of those toxic people, except for one that you might have planted there, and you've worked with that one person to have them understand and not be afraid of the toxicity coming from the peanut gallery, let's say. They can say, what I would like to see is, and then they are helping you get back on track. It's like, do we have any other ideas that will help us move forward with this. Any other solutions, any other ways of test driving that we can test drive some ideas to move forward on this challenge that we have. And let's say then that you have an idea and you've brought that in, and now there's sort of this dichotomy going on, the positive and the negative, something that you can move forward and something that, you know, they want to shut it down. You can say, okay, well, what I would like to do is put together a small team that will review the pros and cons of each of these. Maybe you have enough time to do that in that brainstorming meeting right there and be very, very transparent in both, right? And list it down, you know, scribe it all. You can do it that way. You can also have the small sub-team break away and do that, but make sure that you have some folks, one or two people, probably one person, go with one toxic person that is not the over my dead body and I'll fight to the death kind of person. You have a person that is willing to talk and willing to explain the viewpoints and really wants to see this resolved. You get that person on the sub-team and get another person that sees the other side of the coin, get those guys to run down with this deeper discussion. And you set I would like this to happen within the week, and then next week, let's bring everybody together and we'll understand these viewpoints. And so you can do it that way. And in some cases, it feels like you're slowing the wheels of progress. It'll drive you crazy. But remember, you're building that ecosystem, because if you don't do the homework on that one topic, it'll be the next topic or the next topic or the next topic. So cut your teeth and build your ecosystem sooner rather than later. I hope that helps.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is from Natasha. What are some tips on overcoming negative political opinion due to underfunding and dealing with political people like local county councils or the library board of trustees?
Wow, negative opinion. Yeah. And a lot of them, they have, they're wearing their commitment on their sleeves sometimes. But remember, they've been appointed to those positions. A lot of them have, or they've been hired into those positions. So utilize that. I think a lot of miscommunication or poor leadership can build toxicity in these environments. And here are some tools that I've seen clean it up. Slow it down, over communicate, get sub-teams together, and these sub-teams are made up of folks that are needing to be heard, right? So you want to get those folks a venue that they can be heard, and then write that stuff down. And, sometimes if they have a chance to be heard, and then you can work with it. And also as a change management, or let's say as a library director, or as a, project manager in charge of XYZ, you can say, I will be taking this feedback and really reviewing it with my supervisor, my boss, so it's not just you, or you take it back and you'll be reviewing it with XYZ, whoever is holding your reins, right? So that will help. And let's say that it's still a bit rocky. You can be bleeding hearts and over communicate, not get anywhere, to where no matter what you do, the The cranky supporters just want it done their way, right? And if that's the case, you have to be very succinct and strong and saying, we have heard all the feedback and we respect all these viewpoints. What is doable in light of the resources that we have at hand right now is we're basically able to do X, Y, and Z. So things like that. See how you want to build that vocabulary and that transparency and be genuine and show leadership. If you're not running the library, those cranky leaders out in the community will, and they don't know half as much as you guys do, right? So build that team. I hope that's helpful.
That is, thank you. Our next question is from Sadie. I currently work for the state, and while I'm highly grateful for my job, work moves really slow. It is really hard to take risks and pursue new ideas because no one wants to. It is refreshing to hear you talk about seeking out new ideas. In public librarianship, have you had similar experiences, or have you found that public librarianship is receptive to risks?
I know. Well, yes, and yes. I think you just have to have an attitude of you're having fun. And the more you have fun, you don't work a day in your life. So if you have that attitude at work, after a while, people just want to have fun like you. And you'll build your ecosystem. Back to that ecosystem. Isn't it amazing? So just start having fun and get parents involved, get teens involved, get seniors involved with building your ecosystem, having your fun. It doesn't have to be about just you. But I know I've been an island before. It's amazing how much of an island you can feel, but just have fun and then talk about all your fun and just doodle along and, share it in a visible way. I hope that helps. Being in a rural library, it's amazing how you can feel like you're just in an island of, you're just an island, but have fun. Connect with other people online that help feed you as well. You know what I mean? Like get into a blog or go to ALA or, this group right here. Create a group that you can chat with and celebrate with, and it keeps you up, just having fun. Of course, you might be too wacky, and you're not connecting with anybody. So find out what people want, but, could be anything.
Okay, yeah, and we've got a lot of thank yous so far. We have very many satisfied question seekers. Our last question is from Maureen. Can you speak more to vocabulary? It sounded like you were saying that you could have a specific set of keywords that you need to use to keep up awareness. What about using buzzwords from the organization's strategic plan to get or keep administrators on board?
Excellent idea. Really great. And in fact, what you can do if you're a leader in the organization and you want to help others connect with that vocabulary, create little plastic, almost like business cards, and laminate them, put in a couple of, statements. I've done that before, or even phrases, like 4 phrases on that little card. And it's using the vocabulary, it's helping them build talking points and use those talking points and celebrate. This is, it's almost like they're wearing a badge. For the people that are very shy, the folks that are reluctant to jump on board, the folks that are very new to libraries or even to working for the public. See all of these barriers for people. Help them connect, and you can do it in different ways. I bought a bunch of these little ducks from Oriental Trading Post. Oriental trading, I think is what it's called. And these cute little ducks that had, you know, like the ninja duck and the, you know, different ducks, little rubber duckies. And you had to collect all 10 of them or something like that. But I made it fun. You can kind of make a game out of some of these, building the environment, building the ecosystem of change. And you can use those ducks as sort of rewards, or this month we're doing this. All you have to do to get Ninja Duck is XYZ. Make it easy, make it fun. You can see people having fun collecting all 9 over a year or whatever, let's say. But that's a fun way to get folks to be involved, to build buy-in.
Thank you. I really like the ecosystem metaphor. I think that really paints a beautiful picture about how we communicate and how we build communities of trust around each other. So that was really informative. Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. Ruth, I've learned so much. I'm looking forward. I'm attending live, but I'm also going to be watching the recording as well. We are making a recording, and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel by the end of the week. Check back on our events archive on our ALASC website, and you'll be able to get the link to that. And just Ruth, thank you so much. I mean, really brilliant ideas, and obviously you're drawing on so much experience.
I'm glad to be here. It's been just fun. It's fun to see some of my students here. Yay!
And if you're still there, please join us for our Around the World Library Tour, November 18th at 6 p.m. It'll be fun, casual, meet and greet, chatty event.
Yes, you can find the link on the iSchool calendar, and we'll be posting that later as well on social media and our website. But yeah, join us for that. It's just a relaxing time. All right, well, good night, everyone, and thank you so very, very much. Okay.